Okay, grade 9, chapter 7, polynomial operations, multiplication, division. 7.1, 7.2, and 7.3 are all different sections from multiplication and division. 7.1, this formative test that we're going to correct right here, is about dividing and multiplying monomials by monomials. Chapter 7.2, the next video, is how to multiply a monomial by a polynomial. And 7.3 is how to divide a polynomial by a monomial. So the first section, 7.1, is just all about monomials. If I take this and drag it up, I can't. And the first question we have is what division and multiplication equations can be created from this model? So keeping in mind that if you had an area of 12 meters, and this was 6 meters, and this was 2 meters, what you could say is that area is length times width equals area. So therefore, a multiplication statement I can make from this one would be a negative 2x multiplied by a 2x equals the area of negative 4x squared. Okay, using algebraic expressions instead of regular numbers like 6 and 2. So the first one I could write would be that one, and I guess conversely you could also write 2x multiplied by negative 2x equals negative 4x squared too. If you wanted to switch the terms around, that would work. The division questions, there are two of them you could write as well. You could put the area of negative 4x squared divided by one of the sides I know will equal the other side. Or also I could put the area divided by the side I know equals the other side. So all four of these statements are appropriate equations that can be created from the model. Your second question says, what equation is this modeling? So because it gives you the area and it gives you one of the sides, you can use area divided by the length will equal the width, or the area divided by the width equals the length. So therefore, 3x squared, which is the area, divided by the length that I know will equal the missing side. And according to this, I'd have to make these negative x's because a negative x times a negative x is a positive x squared. So therefore, the solution based on the model is negative 3x is missing. Your next question is again division. So your area is negative 4x divided by the side I know, which is x. What would go here? If I think about what chips have to go here, they have to be positive 1 or negative 1. And since it's a positive x, these all have to be negative 1s, which means your solution is negative 4. So negative 4x divided by x equals negative 4. Your next question, what equation is this modeling? So this time you're given the length and the width and you're not given the area. So this is a multiplication question. So the length of negative x multiplied by the width of negative 2x, will equal the area, which inside here would have been, those would be positive x squareds, 4x squared. This is also a multiplication question. This says negative 2, which is this length, multiplied by the width, which is negative 3x, will equal the area. If I put this in here, those are a negative times a negative. Each of these are going to be positive because a negative x times a negative 1 will be a positive x. And the answer is positive 6x. I don't need the positive symbol. Equals 6x. If you put positive 6x, that's fine, but you don't need it because it's understood to be positive. Question number, whatever this is, says what equation is modeling? Again, your length and width is given. Your length is 3, your width is x. 3 multiplied by x would be 3x. You can fill it in like this if you wanted to. And those would all be positives because a positive x times a positive 1 would be positive x. Model to solve, so you're modeling negative 2x multiplied by 5. So here I'm going to put my negative 2x. I'm going to put a negative x here and a negative x here. I'm going to put a positive 1, positive 2, positive 3, positive 4, positive 5. And then I'm going to connect all the dots here. And ask myself, are those going to be negative x's inside there or positive? Since these are negative x's each, and those are positive 1 each, Positive times a negative is a negative, so therefore the solution is negative 10x is my area. Model to solve. So here I'm going to put a negative 4x, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and negative 4. Here I'm going to put a negative x. So that says negative 4x multiplied by the width of negative x. Connect your dots. Since it's a negative x times a negative x, these are all going to be positive x squareds. So the solution would be 4x squared is your solution. So I've modeled it to solve it, and then I've said that I know what my answer is. My answer is positive 4x squared. The next one says model 3x squared divided by 3. And I just said I made a mistake. It's supposed to be 3x here. So it was a printing error. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to write the width first. So I'm going to put 1x, 2x, and 3x first. I know it seems weird, but put the length first. And then figure out how can I fit my area of 3x squared into there. I'll take my... There's how I fit 3x squareds in there, a positive x squared, a positive x squared, and a positive x squared. And therefore, the width that has to exist in order for this model to work has to be an x squared here, a positive x squared. So therefore equals, sorry, x, not x squared, equals a positive x. Model to solve. So again, you're given the same thing. So don't do your area first. Start with your width. So I'm going to draw 2x here. I'm going to shade those in to make them positive. How am I going to fit 2x squareds in there? Well, that's pretty easy. Just put them in like this, and that's an x squared and an x squared. And ask yourself, what does the width have to be? Well, the width would have to be just 1x here, and it's a positive x, because a positive x times a positive x is an x squared. So therefore, your answer is simply x. Says solve without modeling for the next question. So for this, to be honest, this is the way we do all of our, when you're given a polynomial multiplication or a monomial times a monomial. So when we are multiplying monomials by monomials with algebra, or we're doing polynomials times monomials, or whatever it happens to be, our default method will be simply to multiply using distributive property. And since this is a multiplication of a monomial by a monomial, what you really want to do is think about 10x as being 10 times x multiplied by negative 2 times x, and really what you have here is the product of 4 different things. And according to the associative property of mathematics, the order in which you multiply a string of numbers together does not affect its product. So therefore, I'm going to rearrange them so that I can simplify the coefficient to be negative 20 and simplify the x times x using exponential form to be x squared, and therefore the solution is negative 20x squared. Now essentially, you would never write this. You probably would not write it, but you would say 10 times negative 2 is negative 20, x times x is x squared. But for purposes of test, show your work. If I say show your work, that's what you have to show. Your next question, so negative x multiplied by negative 5x. Again, if I rearrange them, or if I didn't rearrange them, it's negative x times negative 5 times x, or negative 5 times, oh, actually, hold on. This negative x, my apologies, is actually, as Sierra will tell you, a negative 1 coefficient. So negative x is really a negative 1x. And that's kind of important because here, when I rearrange my terms, because I'm now declaring that that is a negative 1 coefficient, when I multiply my coefficients, I get a positive 5, right? So a negative 1 times a negative 5 is a positive 5, and x times x is x squared. Some people end up with a negative 5x squared because they don't think of the coefficient of negative x as being a negative 1. Here we have a decimal coefficient, but the procedure is still the same. So it's a negative 2.5 multiplied by x multiplied by 4 multiplied by x multiplied by x, because that's what x squared is, right? 4x squared. Rearrange your terms. Negative 2.5. Well, 2.5 times 4 is 10, and a negative times a positive is a negative. X times x times x in exponential form is x cubed. And therefore, in simplified form, you get negative 10x cubed. Solve without modeling again. So this time, when you have division of a monomial by a monomial, you simply take it and you think about 10 multiplied by x divided by 2. 10 over 2 will reduce down to 5 over 1, which means you'll have 5x squared over 1. And since over 1, CC will tell you you never have denominators of 1 either. You can erase it. And if you do it on the test, it'll annoy me. So your answer is simply 5x squared. For this one, 20 multiplied by x multiplied by x multiplied by x is what 20x cubed looks like, broken down into its independent parts. 4 multiplied by x is what 4x is. When I reduce these terms, 20 over 4 will reduce to 5 over 1. X over x will reduce to 1 over 1. When I multiply my numerators, 5 times 1 times x is simply 5x squared, and 1 times 1 is 1. Since you don't need to keep over 1, your solution is simply 5x squared. The next question gives you negative 24x cubed divided by negative 2x. And to be honest, I'm pretty good at these. I still write them out like this because I see it better. Without writing your parts out, let's try. So negative 24 over negative 2 will be 12. X cubed over x will be x squared. Therefore, the solution would be positive 12x squared. And the last question on your quiz says the area of the rectangle is 15x squared. If the length of the rectangle is 3x, what is the rectangle's perimeter? I think there's supposed to be. Is there apostrophe there? Anyone know anything about language arts? No. No? Doesn't it belong to the rectangle and therefore it's apostrophe S? Yeah. Do I need an apostrophe there? Is it an apostrophe S? Rectangles.
It's a rectangle. Oh, you didn't remove it.
What's up?
It's multiple rectangles.
Oh, like is? Okay, well that's Miss Harvey. She's smarter than I am. Okay. Apostrophe S. Right, so rectangle's perimeter. Apostrophe S. Okay. So what I would like you to do on your test, okay, we're done talking about the apostrophe. What I would like you to do on the test is first draw the rectangle, okay? Now, if I don't ask you to draw it, you should still draw it, because anytime you have a story problem, if you're able to draw it, you should. And therefore, what I want to do is to calculate the missing side length. I take my area divided by the side I know, and that will tell me the width I'm missing. So that's going to give me a 5. That's going to give me an x. So now I know the missing side length is 5x, but I'm not done yet because it's asking for the rectangle's perimeter. So perimeter is 2 lengths and 2 widths, or length plus width plus length plus width. So I have 2 3x's. I have one here and one here that makes the distance around. I'll even write 3x for you. And I have 2 5x's. One here and one here. And if I take all of those together and add them together, I'd have the 2 3x's make 6x. The 2 5x's make 10x. And since I'm adding those terms together, in order to add algebraic terms together, they must be like terms, which means they have to have the same variable and same exponent. They do, which means I can simplify it into a perimeter of 16x. So therefore, the perimeter is 16x.